Hello, I'm Mick Adam Noya, and this is Channel+Crossing, the first episode of a new telly review show. Let's start off with a simple question. What's on television? Or, as this is 2015, what's on television by way of local broadcasting, cable, the internet, and various other streaming services? The simple answer is, a lot. The possibilities are many, by both legal and not-so-legal means. The successor programs from all over the world are no longer dictated by what regional territories they are available in. But let's backtrack for a moment. What's on BBC Two?
Sir Richard and Lady Worth.
I am yours, sir, to do with as you please.
I have many unspoken desires.
You have my permission to try with her.
You ask too much of me, sir.
Obey.
My true love.
There will be a trial, and I will prosecute.
Why can I not tell the whole truth? I will never belong to any man.
The true feature-length story of the Scandalous Lady W on BBC Two.
Thanks to that sensational piece of BBC marketing, before I watched The Scandalous Lady W, I pictured a story that fell somewhere between Poldark meets Paris Hilton.
They say she's worth 100,000 to the man she marries. I doubt there's a wealthier, more eligible heiress in the land.
The W in the title is Seymour Dorothy Fleming. W for her husband, Richard Worsley, a respectable Tory MP. Apparently there is such a thing.
You are beautiful, madam.
Respectable aside from the fact that the only way that he can get off is to make his wife have sex with other men while he watches.
Want to selfishness.
Lady Worsley is a magnificent woman, if I may say so.
Yes, you may. You may. Nay, never would I have known that a woman of breeding could be so wanton and so desires fucking.
Sir, that is most extraordinary.
She likes you. You have my permission to try with her.
Through the course of these sex romps, she meets George Bissett. But this time, love is in the air, and after some quick planning, the couple elope. Worsley is furious and sues Bissett for running off with his property for the sum of £20,000. In the face of humiliation, poverty, and debtor's prison, Seymour reveals all of the saucy details of her sexual exploits in open court. Exploits she had at her husband's behest.
You have had an intimacy of friendship, but have you had any particularly intimate connection with her?
With your lordship's permission, I decline that question. It is improper for a gentleman to admit whether he has had many prior and intimate connections with Lady Worsley, sir.
Certainly. You have no right to be asked that question.
So, is this BBC's 18th century remake of Basic Instinct? Let's put it this way. For something that's supposed to be based on real-life scandal, there was very little scandal to behold. When the courtroom scenes played out, I was invested. Unfortunately, these scenes are brief. Despite a small budget, the film is well shot. The locations and costumes pop with vivid colors and details. The performances are solid, and Sean Evans is one of the best things in it. He plays Worsley as an impetuous and controlling creep, but with an underlying sympathy. On a side note, despite being inhabited by the late great John Thaw, I can't look at Evans without seeing Endeavour Morse. But here he inhabits a different character and plays him like a real person, and not an abusive villain husband stereotype.
You wish me to depart for 4 years?
Why do you complain so?
I've lost everything.
And only you. I'm tired of this.
Yes. And so am I.
Natalie Dormer is supposed to be the big draw as the title character. Her performance was spare and measured, unlike her Game of Thrones character, or pretty much anything I've ever seen her in, which was a pleasant surprise. Even her lip-curled grins were toned down for the most part. And Nyron Bernard plays George Bissett. Other than looking a bit like a hunkier Elijah Wood, he doesn't have much to do. His character mainly just serves as a plot device. There are a few lines of dialogue that try to present Lady W as some kind of feminist figure, but there just isn't enough story to make that or any other point. Maybe if the story was reimagined as a courtroom drama from the point of view of the lawyers, this film could have been, at the very least, more interesting. Natalie Dormer does look great in that red dress, though. Starz has been enjoying success with its original programming, with programs such as Black Sails.
In which case, I will go fuck myself.
And Outlander, and has made itself a worthy adversary to its premium and basic cable counterparts. Its latest series premiered on Facebook before it aired on the channel itself. It starts with a very familiar head.
Thank you, Stan. You're too kind. Stan, has anyone ever told you that you bear an uncanny resemblance in profile to the Duke of Windsor?
No, I haven't heard that, Mr. Blunt.
Yes, that is Professor X sitting in a bar in Los Angeles sharing an anecdote. Blunt Talk. It's one of those cutesy titles that has a double meaning and features the name of the main character. In this case, we have Walter Blunt, played enthusiastically by Patrick Stewart.
Would you like some whiskey? Or marijuana chocolate? I have both.
Slow down, baby. Look, we should probably talk business first. Do you know what type of girl I am?
Well, you said you were a goddess and a model.
I'm a transsexual. Do you know what that means?
Oh, yes. I was at the US Open in '77 when Renee Richards made her debut, but I would never have guessed that of you, which I hope you don't mind me saying.
No, it's okay.
And does that mean that you have an intact penis?
Why don't we just say I have a 9-inch clit? Does that bother you?
No. I'm English.
Blunt is a TV journalist who seems to be modeled at least slightly on Piers Morgan. The two at least share the same inflated ego. He is a larger-than-life character who either makes trouble or finds it. During most of these scenarios, he is accompanied by his sidekick/manservant, Harry, played by Adrian Scarborough. His performance is one part Dudley Moore, one part Cato.
What would you like me to read to you tonight? We have The Once and Future King, The Interpretation of Dreams, and the Quran.
Oh, I'm still pushing the Quran, Harry.
Yes, Major. I think it's important that you read it.
Blunt and Harry know each other from the Falklands, and they have been bosom buddies ever since.
I'll test this for you, Major.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The ratio of cocaine to speed is just right, Major.
The show is created by Jonathan Ames, whose last series credit is the quirky HBO comedy Bored to Death. All of the episodes of Blunt Talk are written by Ames, with the exception of 2. The show is a strange marriage between its creator Ames and producer Seth MacFarlane, MacFarlane, of course, used Patrick Stewart heavily in his two series, Family Guy and American Dad. Blunt Talk's humor is a bit of a hybrid of all those shows.
Do you think it would be fair to say that you have been sexually out of control all your life? Well, you see, I have been sexually out of control all of my life. Why? I don't know. Why? I don't even know what sex means anymore. Why? I've lost my way, you know that. Why? Please stop!
Stop making him say why. Throw him a softball.
Sorry. Despite centering entirely on Blunt's high-anxiety adventures, the show has an interesting cast. Dolly Wells is one of Blunt's producers, and the wonderful Australian character actress, Jackie Weaver. There's also an almost silent cameo from Richard Lewis as Blunt's psychiatrist, with more screen time certainly to follow. The Falklands jokes might get old very quickly, if they haven't already. But the relationship between Blunt and his manservant works, thanks largely in part to good chemistry and good acting. While not for everyone, anyone who liked Bored to Death will probably like this, and Patrick Stewart's over-the-top performance is infectious. He recites Shakespearean quotes with all the ham he can muster, and obviously has a lot of fun doing it. He has a clear thirst for comedy, and this is the perfect role for him.
It's the Falklands all over again, Harry. By land, by sea.
Mr. Blunt, get down from the car.
I don't feel well, Harry. I ate some chocolate marijuana and it's starting to kick in. My feet are vibrating and my thoughts are odd.
I have told you edibles are dangerous, Major. You have to think of them as time-release vitamins. Take very little.
Oh, Gertrude, Gertrude, when sorrows come, they come not single spies, but in battalions!
Mr. Blunt!
This is not the audience for Hamlet, Major.
It's not?
On a closing note, I wonder how many Star Trek fans had a nerd orgasm when they saw this scene from the first episode.
Mr. Blunt, why don't you stay and have a cup of coffee? Mr. Daniel Craig and Mr. Jeffrey Katzenberg are just finishing their dessert.
Ah, dear Jeffrey, one of the good guys. Give him my regards, but I'm going home to Beddybyes.
Would you like Stan to call you a car? I am concerned.
I'm okay, Phil. Don't forget, I am Walter Blunt, right here, right now.
It turns out that The Walking Dead and True Detective have a few things in common. They both take place in the American South, the former in Georgia, the latter in Florida. They both feature dead people, and they both have a second incarnation that takes place in Los Angeles. It starts out with a scene that feels like it was taken from 28 Days Later.
We gotta go.
The premise is a simple one. This is the world of The Walking Dead, but before the outbreak. I say outbreak because the Z word seems very out of fashion these days. We see more of the normal world. However, things seem ready to kick off. Kim Dickens brings her usual easy charm as Madison, a school guidance counselor, and she seems well positioned to be the main character.
Hey, I could expel you just for crossing the threshold with that thing.
No, please. Safer numbers.
Safer from what? Tobias, please don't screw yourself like this. You've been working your ass off. You're on track to go to college.
Yeah.
No one's going to college. No one's doing anything they think they are.
What? What are you talking about?
Can I get my knife back, please?
No, you can't get your knife back. If there's a problem, we're gonna know about it. The authorities would tell us.
I won't say much more, as part of the fun of a show like this is to discover the characters for yourself. Curiously, most of the cast is international. A Swede, a Kiwi, an Aussie, 2 Brits, Mexican actress Patricia Reyes Spindola, and veteran Cuban actor and singer-songwriter Ruben Blades. The cast seems pretty talented, and has the potential to give the original Walking Dead cast stiff competition. Fear the Walking Dead has a few things going for it. For one thing, one of its creators and showrunners is Robert Kirkman, the man who created the original graphic novel. Having the creator on board can be hit or miss, and there have been some very low points in that regard. This is more akin to George R.R. Martin's involvement with the Game of Thrones TV series. Along with Dave Erickson, former showrunner of Sons of Anarchy, and remake Low Winter's Son, also from AMC, the show looks like it's in good hands. One of the show's other strengths is its atmospheric tension, and the location of Southern California makes a nice change from post-apocalyptic Georgia. The tone of the first episode was not that of a B-movie horror film with jump scares, but rather something more calm and sinister. In a scene in the middle of the episode, I was pleasantly reminded of the 1978 remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
And one of the men says,
Oh, wait, you have told me this one.
"Oh, can I tell it to you again?" The policeman will help.
Get it?
You do? I don't. What does that make me?
Human.
Weak.
Better call Alicia. Get her to eat something.
If imitation is flattery, then there is plenty of it all across this episode. Seeing that scene and others made me think how the series would be best served to proceed at a slow and steady pace, building fear and paranoia slowly. But such a task would require some very good writing, and the show seems set to move things along very quickly. The program walks a line between homage and all-out plagiarism, and it also has to create an identity of its own, separate from that other Dead show. I don't envy the task of the writers, but I look forward to seeing the results. Given the high ratings, the highest ever in fact from the network, AMC is probably relieved to know it has another hit, and with the channel expanding across Europe, it couldn't come at a better time. It had to happen sooner or later. Many shows have returned this fall like the dropping of leaves, and with them comes the 6th and final season of Downton Abbey.
Inside of me, the light you see, that you met in darkness.
We have had our moments, haven't we, milady?
We certainly have.
Time to say goodbye.
You have to admit, it's hard to see that ad and not admire its sappiness. A lot of women were probably emotional at this Sunday night's airing on ITV. And some people were probably rejoicing that they're no longer forced by their loved ones to watch it anymore. Regardless of what camp you're in, a lot of us did see it. It starts with a perfect opportunity to show something politically incorrect under the guise of this being a period drama. Except, of course, for Isis the dog, who's now dead. Chasing and killing tiny little animals never look so good.
Talks for years.
Mrs. Patmore and Mrs. Hughes are apparently comparing sex to incest.
Point. Maybe he'd prefer us to leave that side of things alone.
Sorry? Live like brother and sister, you mean?
A very loving brother and sister.
Just remind
Lady Grantham reenacts a Monty Python joke.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Trouble at Mill.
Lord Grantham misses the past.
If I could stop history in its tracks, maybe I would. But I can't, Carson. Nor you nor I can hold back time, unfortunately.
Time did seem to stand still for that dog, though, didn't it? Mosley walks into a room obliviously.
Oh, hey, I wonder what was in that message.
Cousin Isabel and the Dowager Countess are at each other's throats where they belong.
And may the best man win.
And as usual, Daisy does something ridiculous. In short, Downton is in its top soapy form. As this is the beginning of the end, it's time to begin my wish list on how I hope the show will end. To start with, Edith needs to stop drawing the short straw on that family. Her life has been one of tragic parody, but there are hints of things looking up. She's running a newspaper by telephone, and she's even upstaging Lady Mary in the dress department.
Please have Mrs. Hughes do it.
Mr. and Mrs. Bates need to stop being the voodoo dolls of the show. Misery seems to stalk the Bates duo in every scene, and that murder investigation that nobody cares about is still happening. Barrow, I hope, continues his role as house curmudgeon, but he needs to track down Mrs. O'Brien, as things haven't been the same without her. That leaves the crown jewels of the show, the Dowager Countess and her soulmate Cousin Isabel. The only truly satisfying end, for me, would be for them to fight to the death while falling down a waterfall, Sherlock Holmes style.
Excuse me. I don't think any of this makes sense. Don't worry about that. Nobody cares. But if someone eats a grapefruit with the wrong spoon, you go berserk. Oh, yes. But that's cutlery.
But since that won't happen, I'll settle for a fight to the death between Spratt and Miss Denker.
Are you trying to suggest, in your usual maladroit fashion, that our jobs are in peril?
And that's me done. If you like the show and would like to see more, click thumbs up and subscribe. If you have any thoughts on the reviews or would like to see a particular series reviewed, leave a comment below. I'd like to end the show with something I'm going to be calling Mix Pick, which is basically my scene of the week. This particular mix pick is from the Scandalous Lady W.